I hosted the very first Explorer tournament, and I called it the Explorer Octagon. I know what you're thinking. Explorer is not even out yet. How did you do it? So it was a tournament I did with my stream, and guess what? I won. And so I did this video to show you what I learned and what I played. So first, let's go over the rules. All right, so the rules are simple. If we can fill up to 16 people, we will. But if we only get 8, then we'll just go with 8 people. We ended up getting 16. It was a double elimination tournament, $50 PayPal to them, completely free for Twitch subscribers. The format is best of one Explorer, and username should not be present in the chat. So if I saw their username continue to be there, we would just wait until their username disappeared. I'll put the tournament page in the description below. Now for what I played. So I played the list that I called a ban for, and that's Cat Oven. It's not exactly the same 75 because there's no sideboarding, so I have to kind of make a call on what I think is going to be the most popular deck. And from what I've seen on Twitter, Winota is the truth. Winota is the card that needs to be banned rather than Cat Oven. Like, the potential of Winota is so scary. I decided I was going to play a list that was better equipped to deal with that style of strategy. I didn't do too much. I think it was more catch-all stuff. So in my initial list, I was playing Fatal Pushes, and then in this list, I included Thoughtseizes, and I decided to cut the Gigantha for the Meathook Massacre because I think that more people are going to be leaning towards creature-style strategies, especially when we're playing the first tournament. Like, I think everybody's natural go-to is to play an aggressive deck, right? Mono white, mono red, or like a Gigantha style deck. So Meathook Massacre lines up good in the mirror, as well as against all of these decks that I just named. All right, it's time to watch the matches from the tournament. All right, so this is round number 1. All right, so I'm playing against 4-color Omnath. So it's going to be a ramp style of strategy. And I just Thoughtseize, take their ramp. A pretty solid hand. Drew another Thoughtseize, spectacular draw. Gonna go ahead and Thoughtseize. And I have an interesting choice, but I'm just going to take the threat. They have main deck Mystical Dispute, so that could be a problem if they leave it open. And they drew a Beanstalk Giant, which is kind of unlucky, but kind of lucky at the same time because I can resolve something here, a threat. Yep, cycled the Triome. I get to untap. I get to attack. Alright, so I get in the damage. We have Fatal Push open. Oof, they drew an Escape. And that Escape has an Omnath. And a Fabled Passage, which is very dangerous. But we end up drawing a Fabled Passage of our own, which pairs beautifully with this Fatal Push. And so I just end up passing the turn. Give myself a swamp. Push right now before they play a land. And they end up sacking so they can gain that 4 life. That's fine. And the reason why I had to do it like this is so I can crack the food at the end of turn and still use the trigger. Because if I had cracked it on my turn, then the Mystical Dispute is live to basically counter me. Alright, so they end up Mystical Disputing, but I have the 3 mana to pay. And this is looking pretty good. We have them down to 11. Mayhem Devil just getting in solid points of damage from the Fabled Passages and the Evolving Wilds. There's a second Omnath. Kind of scary. And see what happens here. Yep, they end up playing the Beanstalk Giant. And I drew another Trail of Crumbs. So I'm just going to fire this off. And this time I'm going to... Oh my god. Found a Korvold. And we found a Binding. Now we're trying to make a decision. Which one should we play? But the game's already over. On to round 2. Alright, this is round 2. And we should be playing against Jeskai Luca. Fires of Invention. This was one of the best decks in Standard. And so I expect it to be still a tier 1 deck. And play Cat. And Double Oven. So our start is phenomenal. We won the die roll as well. So we can just start draining our opponent. And we're looking at our opponent's list to see if they have any exile effects here, because we do not want the cat to just get exiled, and we do not see any spike field hazards. Oh my god. We drew the Mayhem Devil. And this is going to be an incredible amount of damage. Alright, there's the Fable. But that's already dead. 1 there. 2 there. Every time we use a cat oven and bring back the cat, we're dealing a total of 3 damage. And gaining a life. It is honestly quite ridiculous. So we'll get in 4 here. And now we have to figure out the best way to play this Korvold. So we full controlled, so we can play the Korvold. With the trigger on the stack, we're going to sack the Gilded Goose. Right? That enables us to draw 1 off Korvold, deal 1. Bring the cat back. Deal another 1. And another 1. And then sack the cat. And deal another 1. And our spot is pretty darn good. And that is round 2. Easy peasy. Alright, so looking at this hand, it seems solid. We have all of our colors. We have a Meathook. And we are finally playing against our first Winota matchup. Start off with an oven. And then we're going to follow up with Trail. We took a risk not being able to play the Meathook on turn 3 to save a couple of points of damage. And it honestly is kind of scary now. And they played the Winota. And what are they going to hit? They hit another Winota, which is good for me. We'll take out the 1-drop, and we're in great shape. I mean the 2-drop, but the 1/1. So we drew the perfect card, Mayhem Devil. Let's see what we're able to accomplish with that. We'll go ahead and attack. Play the Mayhem Devil. Deal 1 there. Sack. Bring back. Deal 1. Sack. Deal 1. Bring it back. Deal 1. Boom. And that was a Mayhem Devil board wipe. And we have a backup board wipe just in case. And there's a Skyclave Apparition. That was a mistake from our opponent, but an easy one to make. We still have Cat Oven going, so I don't really have much of an expectation. We let our cat die there, which is perfect because we can use the Meathook Massacre for 1 now. But first, we're going to use our food. And we have another decision to make. Take the Oni-Cult. And we're trying to figure out if we can do Meathook plus the Oni-Cult. And the answer is no. So what we're going to do is we're going to play Meathook. And with the trigger on the stack, sack the cat so they take an additional damage. Pass the turn. They're going to hit the Oni-Cult, but that doesn't matter. Bring back the cat. We'll continue to save the treasure. Another oven. Beautiful. Not worth playing the Oni-Cult when we have the potential to hit another Mayhem Devil or a Korvold. Alright, so we're back for round 4. And this is a close hand. My opponent's playing blue-green ramp, which is a Nissa style deck with Agent of Treachery on the top end. And both of these decks, Sacrifice and the blue-green deck, existed in the same standard format, but they have a lot of mana dorks. And so keeping these pushes plus the Meathook actually should line up well if they drew the creature side of their deck. And that's a Growth Spiral. Not too good. We just need a red source to be able to play the game. Alright, we bricked. And there's the Nissa. But it's not over just yet. They'll go to combat and we'll use this push. They're down to 1 green source, so we have a lot of good draws. And that's also not a red source. And so we're kind of just sitting here and are going to be taking a beating. Cavalier of Thorns comes down, and this is going to ramp them and put a pretty insane body on the board. And this is where it's becoming more and more impossible for us to come back. Quasi-duplicate, the Cavalier of Thorns, and yeah, this game is a wrap. And I think they may quasi-duplicate again. Yep, there it is. 3 Cavaliers. And yet again, we drew another not red source. And now we are 3-1. On to round 5. So this is double elimination, so we're still live. Alright, so this round we're going to be playing against mono red. We have a pretty solid hand. Have all of the sources of mana that we need. because Fabled Passage can get us red. They start off with Fanatical Firebrand, pretty quick start. And we have our Cauldron Familiar. Down goes our cat. Luckily we drew this trail, and we can play the trail and potentially use it to bring back our familiar. So if I use it here, I then cannot potentially find something, maybe another cat or the oven that I'm looking for. And we end up just finding another land, not an untapped red source, so we're kind of in a scary position where they can potentially just overrun us. So I'm going to end up blocking. Luckily they didn't have a removal spell. So now we can go ahead and get our red source finally. We found an oven. And so this makes our decision easy this turn. We can just play a Witch's Oven and a Fable. And so the attacking continues, and we are down to 10. Get that block in, and we're down to 9. All right, this is where we stabilize and start to take over the game. We want to increase our chances of finding something like a Mayhem Devil or another cat or another oven. So doing a little bit of math here, trying to figure out if it's worth playing Korvold and taking damage. And we just decided to play it super safe. And now we can bring back our cat and get that engine started again. Yep, we're down to 7. We will go ahead and sack this. And then bring back our cat. Go to 8. Go back down to 7. Trade. Untap. And it's finally time for our Korvold. And things are looking really good. We can just pass the turn. Korvold's in a good place. Cauldron Familiar. And this is game. And so now we are 4-1. Alright. So this brings us to the finals. And guess what? It's a rematch against Winota. And it's the player that we played against already, Flush Donkey. Alright, so we made it to the finals. Remember, this is a 16-person only tournament. So it's kind of like we're already in top 16, playing the later rounds of what would be a Swiss tournament. And there were certainly some interesting decks, but I felt like I was in a strong, superior position because Cat Oven just does not seem fair. Alright, I decided to hold on with Fable so I can discard these cats, and that honestly was a little costly because the Skyclave apparition put me in a weird spot. And this is fine. We go ahead and attack. And we can play Fable again. We have a lot of great options. We could Meathook. We could Fable again. But I think that baiting them into playing a Winota now makes a lot of sense. So there's the Winota. But guess what? We have a treasure. Which means we can trigger Revolt, Fatal Push that, and look at our spot. Discard those two, discard the cat for extreme value. We'll go ahead and attack with both. They take it, and I think it's time. To Meathook Massacre, Oni-Cult, and Oven, I think. Never before has Cat Oven had card selection, and so this is part of the reason why I believe that this deck needs to be banned. And if you have not checked out my video on this deck, make sure you do. I literally tweeted at Wizards, just preemptively ban this so there can be a higher diversity. And we are just in a pretty commanding position. Even though our opponents had 3 Skyclave apparitions, it has not felt particularly close at all. And we can just attack with the squad. We can just sack that, get another one, and then they're dead. Sack, trigger from Meathook Massacre, bring this back, boom. And that is the tournament. So don't forget, I'm doing a Black Lotus giveaway. You can find the details in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.